All right, we are going to move into section 3.2 today, and we are going to be doing some graphing. So you might want to have your Desmos Scientific Calculator open just to do a little bit of multiplication, division, that kind of thing, if you need to. And let's go ahead and start with taking this linear equation and let's get it to standard form. Remember, standard form is ax plus by equals c. So take a minute, see what you can do with that. All right, let's see how you did. So we're actually going to take this to standard form and slope-intercept form, just to make sure that we can solve for y and we can also get standard form. Remember, standard form is ax plus by equals c, and slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so if I start by distributing, the first thing I need to realize is that is actually negative 2/3 times 2 over 1. So I'm actually multiplying fractions. And when we multiply fractions, we go across the top, across the bottom, and then simplify. So I have y minus 3 is equal to a negative 4/3. So negative 2 times 2, 3 times 1, x. And then let's do it again. Negative 2/3 times 9 over 1. Well, negative 2 times 9, that's negative 18 divided by 3. That simplifies to a minus 6. Now let's go ahead and take this to slope-intercept form. So I know slope-intercept form is just y equals. So all I have to do is add my 3. So y equals negative 4/3 x minus 3. So I've got my slope and I've got my y-intercept. So remember, and today, that's the form we're going to be focusing on today, because y equals is where we want to graph from. Okay, that's where we want to graph from. And today is all about graphing. Let's go ahead and take this to standard form. And if you remember, with standard form, we have to multiply by the LCD, the least common denominator. So that least common denominator, in this case, is only one fraction, is 3. So times 3. And I have 3y equals. Remember, these are going to cancel out. Negative 4x and a negative 9. Moving my negative 4, I have 4x plus 3y equals a negative 9. So now I have slope-intercept form. That was y equals negative 4/3 x minus 3. And I have standard form, which is 4x plus 3y equals negative 9. Both of those are useful as we are looking at linears. All right, so let's keep going. Let's just do a quick little review over slope-intercept form. Okay, slope-intercept form. And you'll see us write it as SIF, just for saving some writing. And we know that is y equals mx plus b, okay, where your slope is your rise over run. So that actually tells me my motion, okay? The rise is either up or down, and the run is always going to be to the right. The only time you get to go left is if you're actually off the graph, okay? That will kind of help us know what our line should look like. And then B is our y-intercept. And I like to think about the B as standing for beginning, okay, or my starting point, because that is where the first point is going to be. It's going to be on the y-axis. And that's going to be where we start. Remember, this is 0b as an ordered pair. Okay? All right, so to do that, to be able to graph, we actually have to find our slope and y-intercept. So let's do a little bit of review on solving for y. Remember, you're solving for y equals mx plus b, and we want the m to be a fraction, and b can be a decimal if need be. But go ahead and solve these for y as a quick review. So hit pause. All right, let's see how you did. So if I subtract my 5x, I have 3y equals negative 5x plus 9. And I'm dividing 3 times by 3. This one's gone. Y equals a negative 5/3 x plus 3. There's my slope. There's my y-intercept. Now notice that since this is negative, we always want the negative on the top. okay? Negative on the top, because that tells me that in this case, I'm actually going down because it's negative. All right, now let's look at the other one. And I'm going to do kind of a little shortcut here. I know I need to move the 2x, so I know it needs to be positive. So 5y equals, and I'm just going to go ahead and write that as a positive 2x plus 9 just to kind of keep my head around that right now. Divided by 5, y equals 2/5 x plus. Now this is where you might want to have your calculator do a little math for you. I know my b needs to be a decimal because I cannot graph 9/5. I know that's going to be close to 2, but I want to be a little bit more accurate, so we're going to use 1.8. So this one, 2/5 is positive. That means I'm going to go up 2 and right 5, and this is my start. Okay, now when we are graphing, remember you need to do rise before you run and fall before you crawl. Okay, rise before you run and fall before you crawl. Now, there's 4 types of slopes, and this is pretty important because a lot of times we think we're right graphing, but we don't stop and make sure that our answer makes sense. Okay, that our answer makes sense. So there's 4 types. We have negative slope, which is going down on the right-hand side. We have positive slope, which is going up on the right-hand side. Okay, so that right-hand side is what controls the slope. Down is going to be negative, up is going to be positive. Okay, and then we have undefined and we have 0. Now, here's the kicker on this. Notice how this line does not touch. Let me highlight that instead. Does not touch my x-axis. This is an x, okay? That's my x-axis. It does not touch my x-axis. And this value is 2. So y equals 2. So this is actually the equation. Okay, y equals 2. There is no x. If it doesn't touch an x, it can't have an x in the equation. Okay, if I wanted to think about what it would look like as with a slope, it really kind of looks like this, 0x plus 2. But we don't write a 0. Okay, we don't write the 0. Now, this one is similar, but this one, it doesn't touch the y-axis. Okay, it's not touching the y-axis. And this is actually x equals a negative 2. Notice how there's no y. Okay, there's no y. It's not touching the y, so it cannot have a y. And just for kind of a quick review, remember this is a vertical line and this one is horizontal. So you may want to just give yourself a quick sketch of the 4 different types of slope, because when you are looking at equations, the first thing you should look at is your slope and decide, should my line be going up on the right or should it be going down on the right? That is kind of a quick check to make sure that you're actually graphing the way you're supposed to. All right, so let's go ahead and start with one of these. So the first thing we're going to do is plot our y-intercept. So we have y equals negative 2/3 x minus 2. So my slope is negative 2/3. My b is negative 2, and this is where I'm starting. Okay, I'm going to start with the negative 2. So 1, 2. Now, that is where I'm moving from. I'm no longer on 0, 0. I'm at negative 2. Here's what you need to realize. This negative tells me that I'm going to go down 2 and right 3 from that point. Okay? So down 2, 1, 2, right 3, 1, 2, 3. Here's the next point. Now I can do that motion again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and there's my next point. And I can actually work the opposite direction. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and come up with my line. Okay, I can come up with my line. So my line is coming right through here. Now, to graph a line, you need to have at least 2 points, okay? At least 2 points. So if you want to make 3 or 4, that's fine, but you at least have to have 2. Now, let's just double check that our thinking is correct. So This is negative. Remember, negative lines, we're supposed to go down on the right. This is going down on the right. So I know that my direction is correct. So I'm probably good to go. All right, let's try a couple more. So why don't you take a minute and see what you can do with the first couple, and then I'll help you work through the third one, and then we'll be ready for some homework. All right, let's see how you did. So I'm going to start with coming up with my slopes. So the B here is pretty easy. That's +2. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a +2 right here in red. Now, one thing I have to remember is what this means. That means it is a -1/1. Now keep in mind that if my slope, like y equals 3x plus 2, this is actually 3/1. You always have to run at least one to the right, okay? At least one to the right. So always make sure that you're doing that motion correctly. So I'm going down 1 and right 1, down 1 and right 1, and I can go the opposite direction. And there is my line. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this line in here. All right, there's my first one. Let me draw that in red. That'll make it a little bit easier for us with colors. All right, let's go ahead and we'll use pink for this next one. So it's ready to graph. I have M is -5/3 and B is 3. So I'm starting at +3. So I'm up here. And I know this is negative, so I'm going down again. Okay, I'm going down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. And I'm ready to draw my line. So this line is steeper. All right, we got 1 to go. Now, can you find your slope and your y-intercept from this form of the line? I cannot. So this one I need to get to y equals. So the first thing I'm going to do is move that 2x. So -2x. I have 3y equals -2x plus 6. Divide by 3. So y equals -2/3 x plus 2. Okay, -2/3 x plus 2. So if I graph this guy, I think we'll do green this time. We're going to be starting on the same point. So there's +2. And again, it's negative, so my line should be going down. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And we are running less steep this time. Okay, now I want you to think about if this would have been y equals 5/3 x minus 6. Where would you have been? Well, -6 is here. If it's positive, instead of going down, I'm going up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3. That line is going this way. Okay, so pay attention to your motion. You're always going to go up or down and then go to the right. Okay, up or down, then go to the right. All right, so let's look at our two special cases. So we had horizontal lines and vertical lines with our special slopes, and we had undefined slope, and we had zero slope. Okay, so I want you to think about where y equals 4 is. Well, y equals 4 is not on this line. It's not on the x-axis, it's actually on the y-axis. So it's starting here. Okay, now notice there are no x's. So that means I cannot touch this. So what kind of line are you going to draw that you cannot touch my yellow line? Well, your only option is to draw a horizontal line. That's the only option you have. Okay? That's the only option you have. So y equals 4, this is a 0 slope. So it would really look like 0x plus 4, but I don't write the 0, okay, where the m is 0. Now x equals 5, that point, x equals 5, is here. Well, notice how there's no y's on this one. So that comes back to the same issue of if it doesn't have a y, you can't touch that axis. So the only option I have for drawing a line there is vertical, okay? And this one has an undefined slope. Has an undefined slope. So remember, 0 slope and undefined slope. Only one variable. One of them is a y, the other one is an x. Okay, so you've got homework to do today. You're working on just graphing. You've got some that are already solved for y, and then other ones you need to solve for y. So see what you can do with those. And tomorrow we're going to simply graph from slope-intercept form. We've got to make sure that we're good at graphing, because 3/4 of what we do throughout the rest of the next 6 months is going to be dealing with graphing lines of some sort, okay? So we've got to be able to do it from many, many different formats. We'll chat with you on the flip side.